is Roxy, your firewife, lawyer mom, and today we're going to talk about curriculum misses. What are some of the things that did not work for us this year? So stay tuned.
Come a little closer. I wanna dance with.
Hi everybody, welcome to Firewife Lawyer Mom. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you are new here, thanks so much for watching. And if you've been here for a while, I really appreciate you coming and watching my videos. Definitely, I'm trying to grow my channel. So if these videos bless you, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the like button so that my videos can be shared with more and more people. This channel is dedicated to homeschooling, mom life, organization, all the kinds of things and how I do it all. So today we are going to talk about curriculum misses. Now, these are the things that I mentioned at the beginning of the year were going to be curriculums that we were going to be using for the 2023-2024 school year that I was super excited about at the beginning of the year, but turned out to not work so much. Okay, so these are the things that, although I was really excited about this year, I'm always excited about the new curriculum at the beginning of the year, but one of the things that I have learned in homeschooling is that sometimes curriculums are just not gonna work for your family. Now, a couple of things before I mention what did not work for us this year is, number one, just because it didn't work for me, that doesn't mean that it can't work for you. These are things that I just tried to incorporate this year and they didn't work. Whether it be they didn't work for my family dynamic, for the way my children learn, for just the time that we had, they didn't work. And so what is great about all of this is that this really helped me to learn, you know what, we gotta just toss this curriculum and call it a day. So I'm really of the philosophy that if a curriculum is not working for you, don't try to push it. It is what it is, pass it along. It may work for someone else. And that's exactly what we did in this situation. So if it didn't work for me, I just want you to know I'm not bashing these curriculums. I'm not saying that they will never work for anybody. They just didn't work for us. You know, we are a family of a 3rd grader and a 6th grader homeschooling. And so, you know, they are two different learning styles. They're two different methods of how they retain information and how they absorb things. And so, you know, we have to figure out what works for us. And so by no means is this a knock on any of these curriculums. They may work for you. They just didn't work for us for this year. Okay. Now, just to kind of give you guys an idea of how my homeschool works, and I've talked about this in other videos, my homeschool is divided into 4 different sections. We have our morning time basket curriculum, our Fun Friday family subjects, and then our individual subjects for each of our children. So I'm going to go through the curriculum misses that I had in one or more of those 4 areas, and I will indicate what area that is for you guys to know. The great thing about curriculum misses at this point in my journey of homeschooling, which is I'm in my 4th year, going into my 5th year next year, which is like, I still even can't believe that, is that the longer that I homeschool, the less curriculum misses I have. And that's awesome because that means that I'm really sticking with the curriculums that are working. I'm being loyal to those curriculums because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I'm really starting to see and learn exactly what works for our family, for our schedule, for our time, for my kids' learning styles. And I'm really honing in and narrowing in on those things. And what's great is that I introduced a lot of new curriculums this year. And what is great about that is that a lot of them did work. And I'm going to be doing a separate video on my curriculum hits. And I can't wait to show you guys that one because I'm really blown away by a lot of the things that I kind of introduced into my homeschool this year. I did have a new middle schooler this year, so I introduced some new things and I was a little bit worried about them, and they ended up working out really well, so I'm happy about that. So this video isn't going to be as long as possibly my curriculum hits video, but I did want to make this just so that you guys can have an idea of what didn't work for us and how we handled that. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is our morning time. Now, for the most part, our morning time worked really well. We used mostly all of the curriculum. Some of the stuff I am going to have to use next year. Like I said, and I've said in other videos, we don't put a lot of pressure on ourselves to finish a curriculum. We'd rather take our time, dive in, do whatever we need to do to get it done. But if we don't finish it by the end of the year, I have no problem rolling things over. The only exception that I have to that is math and the core subjects, which would be language arts, math, things like that. I really try to get the curriculum done either by the end of the school year, or we work a little bit in the summer during some of the warmer time where we don't have like anything going on. So for our morning time, which is our first kind of section of our homeschool, the one thing that did not work, now as you guys know, I do a loop schedule, so every day of our morning time is a different theme. For Thursdays, we began to study around the world. And so I purchased a few curriculums for that to kind of assist me in putting together something for my kids every week. So what we did is we took all of the continents of the world. We picked about 3 to 4 countries from each continent, and that is what we have been studying. Now, we've only done 2 continents this year because we only do our around the world study once a week. So it's taken us a while to get through, and we've really found our around the world studies to be super interesting. My children have loved learning about all the different cultures and countries, and we've gone into some rabbit trails. So it's taken us a little bit longer than I expected, and that's totally okay. I'm going to be doing around the world next year. So we're just going to roll over whatever countries we don't get to this year. We'll just do them next year. But one of the resources that I did not like, that really didn't work very well, was Beautiful Feet books. So I purchased the Around the World Beautiful Feet, and you're going to show it to you right here, curriculum. And it, I don't know, I'm not really taking to it. Now, it did give some great book resources for each of the countries that we studied, but overall, if I could kind of look back, I would not have purchased this curriculum. It did not really give me much information as to facts about the country, things like that. I thought it was going to be more full of facts and important things that I needed to go over about that country. It just kind of shared books and stories about each of those countries. Most of the stories were fiction stories, and a lot of them are folk tales and things like that. And I did introduce some of those from each of the countries to my children, but really, I could have probably looked for that on Google or done a little research to find what are the, famous fairy tales and stories from those countries. I could have just done that without having to purchase the curriculum. So you are a Beautiful Feet books fan. I'm sorry, it just didn't really work for us. Charlotte Mason, that style of teaching really is good for us in some aspects of our homeschool, but it doesn't really work with others, especially with our loop scheduling during our circle time. We really want to get through material each week. And so that one didn't really work. The next area, and that was pretty much it for our morning time. Everything else that we've used, we've really enjoyed, and I'm going to share that in a separate video. It might even be a 2-parter because I don't like making them too long. But that's pretty much the only one that didn't work for us this year. Now, the second section of my homeschool is our Fun Friday family subjects. So if you don't know, I've talked about this in other videos. Fridays we dedicate to our family subjects. So we do history, art, and science as a family. Every Friday we go through our curriculum, and we do it once a week. It's super fun. It's a break from our normal schedule of Monday through Thursday. So the curriculum that did not work for us this year was short lessons in art history. So art for us has been so difficult in our homeschool. I don't know if this happens to you guys. Leave a comment below if you feel the same way, but goodness gracious, art is just so hard to get done in our homeschool year. It was a lot easier when my kids were younger, but as they get older, it's just been really hard to get an art curriculum that really works and helps us and goes through, one of the things I like to teach my children is art history. And so I thought this curriculum, which I found on christianbook.com, called Short Lessons in Art History, Artists and Their Work, I thought this was going to be awesome because it actually goes through each of the time periods. It goes through artists in that time period, and it gives a lot of descriptive information, but doesn't really give any hands-on work, like anything that we can do to bring this alive. And so this was quite boring for my kids. I mean, we started it like in September, and 2 weeks in, they were like, Mom, I don't want to do this anymore. So Short Lessons in Art History, it came with this little workbook, but like, look at this. It's like multiple choice questions. Like, this is not the vision that I had for art class for us. And I have done other art curriculums before, and they have worked really well, but we've done them. And so really it didn't work for us. We also used or subscribed to a membership from Deep Space Sparkle, which is a lady who teaches art to art teachers. Basically, she shows, art teachers different curriculum. We subscribed to their Deep Space Sparkles Club, and I thought that was really going to work with the Short Lessons in Art History because she has so much on a curriculum on there, but it just didn't work. We didn't have time. I didn't have time. One of the things I'm really hoping I can find one day, or maybe I can create it myself, is an art curriculum that is just kind of like laid out for you, has live lessons, or something where the kids can I can pop up the computer, do a lesson, print some resources, and that's it. But I haven't been able to find something that really works. Let me know if you've got some ideas for art, because we pretty much just scratched art for the entire year, because that was all that I had planned. Was this book was all I had planned to do for art. And so since I didn't have anything, I got so frustrated. I'm like, okay, kids, we are just doing science and history on Fun Fridays. So that one was a huge miss. The next thing for third grade, which is my youngest's grade, really everything worked pretty much. I used a lot of the curriculum that I had used in second grade for her. I transferred over, we went into the next levels. And so most of the stuff was great for third grade. There was a couple of things I really loved, which I'm going to share in my other video. But for the most part, it was okay. Now, the last thing I'm going to mention as our curriculum misses will be the sixth grade curriculum misses that I had this year. So sixth grade was a big year for me because it was the first time I was going to be transitioning from elementary school to middle school. So really it was a big change for me because I don't really know, I never have, homeschooled a middle schooler. So for me, it was going to be tough. And so I tried to incorporate some new curriculum. And there was a couple of things that didn't really work. Number one was the Good and the Beautiful's typing curriculum. Right here, you see it right here. I did not really like it too much. It was, yes, it was very colorful and it divided everything into lessons, but I just feel like we really couldn't be very consistent. Now, it could be that I didn't have the time, that my daughter really didn't have the time or the patience. It could be me, not the curriculum. But let me know what you feel about the typing curriculum from The Good and the Beautiful, and if you have any typing curriculum, because my daughter needs to learn how to type, and so I was really hopeful that this was going to work and that we were going to do a little bit at a time every week and she would get proficient at typing, but it really has not. I don't know, it just didn't really bring the learning alive. It kind of was just very mundane. I didn't like the typing from The Good and the Beautiful, the typing one workbook, so I didn't like that. For a couple of workbooks that I didn't really like that I have used in the past that didn't really work this year for middle school was the Evan Moore Higher Order Thinking and Red Hot Root Words. Those two workbooks I tossed probably by November. I didn't like them. The Daily Higher Order Thinking was kind of just not really anything that I think would be fruitful for her to learn in higher order thinking, and kind of, I like to do the whole logic, incorporate logic into my homeschool, and didn't really work very well. And so I scratched those from the list. One of the things that I incorporated this year that I'm not going to call it a miss, but I'm also not going to call it a hit. It's kind of like in between, and that would be BJU. So this year I really wanted my 6th grader to do a general science course along with a Spanish course that was more formalized, something that she can do on her own to try and test her independence, because eventually I do want her to go into dual enrollment at some point, and so I wanted to kind of do a little bit more hands-off with her curriculum this year. So I picked science and Spanish through BJU to do that. The reason why it is a little bit on the miss side is because I have found it really difficult to keep up with the lessons, to keep up with the curriculum. It is a very, very intense, thorough curriculum. Although my daughter is learning a lot, the lessons are very engaging. The professors in the course are very engaging. Now, just in case you don't know what it is, this is a completely online course you do at your own pace. And basically it's a portal that you log into, you watch the videos for the day, you do the assignments for the day, and then you go on to the next day. It's all, you know, kind of run on autopilot for you. You as the parent get to go in and check your students' progress. There are tests and quizzes that they take throughout the chapters. It's really great in theory, but if I were to make one complaint, it would be that sometimes the lessons are really long to complete and my daughter would get behind very easily. So that's one thing that we are going to try to have to tweak either this year or next year and figure out how we can do better at keeping up with the pace of the curriculum. Because like I said, it is very, very dense material. Not that it's too hard for her to figure out. She was never frustrated with that. It's just the amount of tasks per day was really difficult to keep up with because she had obviously all of her other work to do as well. So let me know if you have any tips and tricks for getting through BJU curriculum. Do you split it up between one year and the other year, which is what I'm probably going to have to do at this point because we are just so many days behind. So BJU is great and a little bit of a miss, but not as much of a miss as is great. I think it's wonderful. I would highly recommend it for your student, but maybe probably looking back, we should have just done one subject instead of both Spanish and science. But at that point, I was looking for a Spanish curriculum. I had used a different company for that, and it wasn't working out very well either. So again, let me know if you have any tips and tricks. Maybe it's just that I need to kind of get some hacks in and figure it out. The last thing I'm going to talk about is my daughter had assigned reading this year for 6th grade. I always, once my kids hit 4th and 5th grade and up, I usually do assigned reading. So I will have about 7 or 8 books that they have to read throughout the year. I test them on the books. I require them to write some kind of a paper summarizing the book. And so one of the books that I assigned for her that was a definite miss that she completely didn't like, midway was like, Mom, please don't make me read this anymore, was Island of the Blue Dolphins. If you are an Island of the Blue Dolphins fan, I'm so sorry. I do not mean to offend you, but Island of the Blue Dolphins really was very slow. And in fact, I actually downloaded the Audible version to see if maybe it was my daughter that just didn't want to get the work done and didn't want to do the reading. But I also found it was a very slow book. She did not like it. It was a definite miss. However, all the other books that we've assigned so far have been fantastic. So that was the only one that was a miss. So that's it. Like, that's all of the misses that we had this year. Like I said, it's not a lot, which is great. It really means that we are really tailoring the curriculum and getting, hitting bullseyes with them. So I'm really happy about that. What are your curriculum misses this year? What have you found did not work? Was there anything that you got from my recommendation that didn't work for your family? I'd love to hear about it. It would be great because then we can kind of share and go back and forth and see what works for us. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will definitely be doing my curriculum hits coming up soon. So stay tuned, hit the subscribe button so that you're notified when that video comes out. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.